All right, let's get you prepped for that big Node.js interview. We're going to break down everything you really need to know, whether you're just starting out or just need a quick, solid refresher. Let's dive in. So first things first, why does Node.js even matter? Well, this isn't some obscure tech. We're talking about the engine behind absolute giants. Think about it, Netflix, PayPal, even NASA, they all rely on Node.js. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll start with the basics. What is Node.js? Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of its single-threaded engine and concurrency magic. After that, we'll look at the tools you'll be using, see it in action, and wrap up with the good and the bad. All right, let's kick things off with part one. What is Node.js? It seems super basic, right? But nailing this definition is your first step to crushing that interview. Okay, listen up, because this is probably the most important thing you'll hear today. If you get asked this, remember, Node.js is not a language. It's not a framework either. It is a runtime environment. That's the key. It's the magic that lets you take your JavaScript skills from the browser and bring them to the backend to build some seriously powerful stuff. So what makes Node.js tick? Well, here are the core features. It's incredibly fast, and that's thanks to Google's V8 engine churning through JavaScript. But the real game changer, the thing we're really going to dig into, is this whole single-threaded, non-blocking, asynchronous I/O thing. That phrase right there, that's the secret to its insane efficiency. And that's the perfect lead into our next section, the single-threaded engine. To really get how Node.js pulls off that non-blocking magic, we've got to pop the hood and see what's going on inside.
Think of this as the assembly line for Node.js. First, the V8 engine takes your JavaScript and turns it into super fast machine code. Then, this cool C++ library called livuv steps in. It's got a pool of threads ready to handle the heavy lifting, like file access or network calls. All of that work is managed by the event loop, the real star of the show, which makes sure the main thread never gets stuck waiting. The end result? Non-blocking I/O that can juggle thousands of requests at once.
And right here, we hit the big question, the one you're almost guaranteed to get in an interview. Wait a minute, if it's single-threaded, how in the world can it handle thousands of connections at the same time? It sounds like a paradox, right? But the answer is, well, it's brilliant.
So, let's answer that question. We're moving on to how Node.js handles concurrency. This is where we pull back the curtain on that non-blocking magic. Okay, so to get this, you have to understand the difference between synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous, or blocking, is like a one-lane bridge. Only one car can cross at a time. The next car has to wait for the first one to finish. Asynchronous, which is what Node uses, is like having a dispatcher. It sends a bunch of cars off on different errands all at once and just says, hey, call me when you're done. It doesn't wait around. And the heart of that whole system is the event loop. This is the secret sauce. For real. Think of it like an incredibly efficient restaurant host. It takes an order, a request, and hands it off to the kitchen, the system's background threads. But instead of just standing there waiting, the host immediately turns to greet the next customer. As soon as a dish is ready, the kitchen sends a notification, and the host delivers it. That's the event loop in a nutshell. It's constantly taking new requests, never waiting, which is how a single thread can feel like it's doing the work of 100. Now, this asynchronous power isn't without its challenges. The old school way of handling this was with callbacks. And if you have one callback inside another, well, you end up with what developers lovingly call callback hell or the pyramid of doom. Your code literally starts to drift to the right and becomes a total nightmare to read and maintain. But don't worry, we're not stuck in callback hell anymore. Modern JavaScript gave us an escape plan. We have awesome tools now, like promises, and even better, the async/await syntax. These let us write our asynchronous code in a way that looks clean and linear, just like synchronous code. It's a total game changer for readability.
Okay, we've got the theory down. So let's get practical. Let's talk about the developer's toolkit, the stuff you'll actually be using day in and day out when you work with Node.js. First up is NPM, the Node Package Manager. You really can't talk about Node without talking about NPM. If Node.js is the operating system, think of NPM as its giant, never-ending app store. It's the world's largest software registry, packed with free open-source code packages that you can just pull into your project. It means you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time.
And how do you manage all those packages? With this one file, package.json. This little file is the heart of your project. It's basically a shopping list for NPM telling it exactly what your project needs to run.
It tracks all your dependencies, their versions, and lets you set up handy custom scripts. It's the blueprint for your whole application.
But you don't always have to go shopping on NPM. Node.js comes with a bunch of powerful tools already built in. These are called modules. You've got HTTP for spinning up web servers, FS for messing with files, OS for system info, path for file paths, even crypto for security stuff. It's all just there, ready to go, right out of the box.
Okay, so we've got the theory, we've got the tools. Now for the fun part. Let's see how this all comes together in the real world, from theory to actual, running code. And check this out. This is a perfect example of why developers love Node.js. Look at that code. You just require the built-in HTTP module, create a server, and tell it to listen. That's it. 5 lines of code, and you have a working web server on your computer. I mean, how cool is that? The barrier to entry is just so low.
So, where does Node fit in the broader world of back-end tech? Let's compare it to another big player, Python. Python is a beast for CPU-heavy work, like data science and machine learning, because it uses multiple threads. But Node.js, it finds its superpower in I/O-heavy applications. Think about an API that's constantly fetching data from a database. Most of its time is spent just waiting, and that's where the Node event loop just crushes it. It's all about picking the right tool for the job.
All right, we're in the home stretch. Let's wrap things up by talking about the pros and cons. No tech is a magic bullet, and showing you understand the trade-offs is a huge plus in any interview. So why do people choose Node.js? 4 big reasons. First, performance. It's incredibly fast for I/O-heavy stuff. Second, the NPM ecosystem is just gigantic. You can find a package for almost anything. Third, it's perfect for real-time applications like chat or streaming. And finally, you get to use JavaScript everywhere, front-end and back-end. One language to rule them all, which is a huge win for development teams.
But on the flip side, it's not the tool for everything. If you have a task that's going to hog the CPU, think heavy calculations, video encoding, that kind of thing, Node's single thread is going to become a major bottleneck. The API can also change pretty fast, which can be a headache. Again, it's about knowing where it shines and where it doesn't.
So let me leave you with this question to chew on. The big takeaway here is really about the web's direction. Everything is moving towards being more real-time, more interactive, handling more people at once. So, is the asynchronous, non-blocking model that Node.js champions just a clever trick, or is it actually the future of how we build for the web? Something to think about. Now go ace that interview. You've got this.